So I think everybody has already joined who wanted to join, and the recording has started. So thank you so much for finding time to join our webinar and to listen a little bit more about the data versioning. Before we start, I'm quickly introducing myself. My name is Fatima, and I'm a solutions consultant here at GeneStack for almost 2 years now. My main responsibility here is the customer support, but deep in my heart, I'm a biologist and a researcher because my background is bioinformatics and data science. So here at GeneStack, I also do a lot of research on public data and post articles about it. You may find them on our website. And I do that using the Open Data Manager, our own platform. So in this webinar, we are covering an extremely important topic, which is data versioning. I will show you both the theoretical side and the practical side of data versioning. And don't worry, it's not going to take too long, no more than half an hour of your time. And let me quickly share my screen so we can start with the slides. So I think, give me one moment to deal with the Zoom buttons everywhere. But here we go. So I really hope you can see my screen right now. And again, as I said, the topic of today's webinar is data versioning, how to keep track of all the generated data that you have. But why do that? Why would you do data versioning at all? Well, I can give you 3 main reasons for that. One is that with the data versioning, you can store many versions of the same data. The second is being able to save the pipeline results that you gather from your data. And the third is to never be afraid to lose data, which is the most important thing for me personally, because I clean data a lot and I'm a human being. I make a lot of mistakes there. And data versioning protects me from making 2 bad things when I clean my data. So basically, data versioning is like saving yourself in a game, right? We all play the game, and in a certain point, you will be like, I did enough in this game. I made it all perfectly. So if I lose it, everything, I don't wanna be back in the level 0. I'm gonna save my character, save my game, and be safe with that. So this is one approach to it. And the other approach that you can take and think about data versioning is like, think about it as a GitHub. So it's a place where you store your code, where you have different versions of your code. And when you write a new version, you save it as a new commit, as a new version of your code. Like every programmer will know that. So I propose the same approach for your data. Your data can be a game and your data can be a GitHub. So it will be safe and secure while you have all the changes that you've done to your data all in one place. So let me start by storing many versions of the same data, and we're going to go through all of those 3 steps in our webinar, okay? So the first reason to do data versioning in 2023 is to store many versions of the same data, especially with public data. We all know that they will have multiple versions, like GTEx, for example. They have like version 3, 4, 5, 6, and now the latest version is 9. And one approach is that you can replace the data with the newest version and erase everything altogether. But it's not a very good solution for only one reason, because if you have done any sorts of analysis on the older version of GTEx, for example, on GTEx version 6, and then you update all your data to GTEx version 8, for example, all your previous results are going to be non-compatible, right? So to avoid that, I strongly believe that you have to version your data, saving only the differences between those 2 versions. It's not going to take a lot of space, but in the same time, you're going to be protected from having incompatibilities. That's why you need to store multiple versions of the same data. That's one reason for that. And let me quickly show you an example of that. So here's our system, and here's how we do our data versioning. And here I have the GTEx data set over there. So it's just sample metadata of GTEx. And if I click here, I can see that we have all versions in place, starting from version 6, because we didn't want any older versions. I have uploaded all 3 versions of the GTEx, and I can move between them. So if I click on version 6, I'll see the version 6, and I can click restore, which will make this version the main one, and it will be accessible to everyone. Right now, it's only accessible to the curator group of users who can clean the data, harmonize it, change it, load it, or delete it. The users who don't have those rights will only see the latest version of the data, which protects data from being changed. But I'm the curator and I can see the older versions as well. And again, here you can see that in the version history, you see the name of the version that I've just put for myself. You can see how it was done, when the change was done, and by whom. Like for me, is the GStack super user, which is me here. And I can go back to version 8. You can see there are differences between those versions, but I can quickly go through and check which version I need. And even beyond that, let's do it together and let's load all those versions together. Okay, so we will go to the main page of our platform. I will click create new study. Let it name GTEx new, for example. I have a template for that. By the way, we have covered the topic of templates and ontologies and data storing in our previous webinars. So if you want to go ahead and request recording, you can definitely do that. Right now, I'm just creating a new GTEx where I'm going to upload the different versions of it right in front of your eyes. So here I've just created a new data set, and here I can add the sample metadata. You can just type in anything, but generally I just want to upload a TSV file. So here I have the first 1,000 or 100 rows of GTEx data set, no more than that for the sake of time, so it doesn't take minutes to load. Like the entire data set will take about 5 minutes to load, but we don't want to waste your time. So I'm gonna check, select the version 6 to start with. I'll click import. And now it's imported. I will just publish and say version 6. Oh, I've happening version 5, which is not correct, but still. Now I will upload a new version, version 7, and click import again. As you can see, it takes just the mere seconds to upload a new data set. I will again click publish, and now it will be version 7. I click publish here, and finally, let's load the version 8. So I click here. Here I just have 100 samples, again, for the sake of time, but we can load all of them. Again, it will be about 5 minutes, not too much, not too long, but still we want to save your time. I will click publish, and here we go. If I click on this button here, you can see that all versions are safe and stored in this platform. So again, if I click on version 5, which is actually version 6, I just missed that, you can see that it's another version of the data set. You can again click restore, which will make this version the main one available to all non-curator users. But this is how it looks like when you have multiple versions of the same dataset in our Open Data Manager. Now, that was the reason for you to have multiple versions of the same dataset and do your own data versioning. Another reason is to save the pipeline results. So we all know that the usual workflow looks like you have your data in your data management system, and then you want to do something with it. For example, you want the diff expression of your genes or another type of analysis to run your pathways. You will just take that data, you will have some pipeline runner on the side, you will get the data from ODM, from your data manager to that pipeline, and then the results of those pipelines should be saved back to that data management system. What we usually see with our clients is that they try to, before they start using our platform, they try to save it somewhere else, maybe add like the date to the title of the file, and then save it as another data set. And it all creates like this misunderstanding and a clutter at the end. So what we propose is to save the pipeline results as a new version of your data. That's simple. So again, the workflow is pretty simple. You take your data from your data manager, send it to a bioinformatic pipeline, and then send it back when it's done to the original place. So let me give you a quick example of that as well. Here I have a study. It's the Arabidopsis study here. And I want to run some pipeline on that. Doesn't matter which kind of pipeline for now, but just see we have this pipeline results field here, and it's no value for now because we did not yet run the pipeline. Right? So if I go here, for example, and start typing Python, what was the name of the start pipeline or something? Yes, it was start pipeline.py. And I'm going to provide this unique accession of this data set to run my pipeline on. I'm going to click that. And so the pipeline is started. I think it's going to take about just a few seconds. It's a very tiny pipeline. It doesn't do much, just for the sake of, just to show you how it works. So almost done here. Yes, the data is saved back to ODM. Let's go ahead and see if it did. So remember, the pipeline results was empty. And now, as I refresh the page, I can see the results of the pipeline. Here is just the links to the files that were generated in the pipeline. Again, those are very tiny little files, but you can access them by clicking to the link. And as you can see, again, we have taken the data from our Open Data Manager, sent it to our bioinformatics pipeline, which was just a Python script for me that accessed the API of the pipeline, which doesn't matter for now. But then we saved it again back to our data manager and saved it as a new version. As you can see here, pipeline done is a new version of my data set here. So I just gave this commit message when I did this pipeline. Now, again, the second reason for you to have the data versioning was to save your pipeline results. The third reason is, again, as I said, the most important one for me is to never be afraid to lose your data. Because we all know that a data scientist would spend about 70 to 80% of their time just cleaning data. That's an enormous amount of time, but it's also an enormous amount of errors. We're all human beings and we make errors as we do things, especially if we do them manually, which we propose not to do, and we have APIs for that, but still, it's a topic for another webinar. So if you just clean your data manually, it will reduce errors, and you want to make sure that you don't, that you're not afraid of those errors, that those errors will not erase everything from your system. Or another reason is that you've harmonized your data, you've changed your columns, you've deleted your rows, etc., only to realize that you made a mistake and you want to go back to the raw version of your data, but you don't have it anymore, and then that will be a mess. In our platform, you can save the clean version of a data as a new version and be safe with that. So let me give you an example. On the same data set with Arabidopsis, I'm going to click Edit, and I'm going to change something. So imagine if I took this couple of rows and I deleted them. Yeah, I did that. And then maybe also delete the column here and the column there. And here we're going to input some rubbish, right? I'm going to click Publish, only to realize that I made a huge mistake, because now the saved version of the data doesn't have the 3 rows that I wanted in the first place, the organism field, the age field. Again, it saved what I wanted it to save, but I want to go back. What do I do? Well, that's simple. Again, I'm clicking this button of versions. I go back to the previous version that we did, which was the pipeline, remember that. And I will click Restore. It will take several seconds to restore all the data that I had previously, but eventually I have restored it. As you can see, I deleted the organism field and it's again here. The age field is here and my rows are back. Congratulations, you now have the restored version of your original data. Even though you messed up, you really quickly went back. Again, you can go back to any of those versions, not just the latest version or something. So that pretty much saves you from yourself, from your mistakes, from your faults, and from being worried at all. You can clean your data at ease, having a podcast as a background, having a music, and never worry about losing your data, because it's well protected with the data versioning in our platform. So again, that was the third reason, to never be afraid to lose your data. That's a really good reason to have a data version to me. That's what I use GitHub, and that's why most people use the save button in the games. Okay, so actually, those were the 3 reasons why we want to have a data versioning in place. And that was it. Again, the webinar was really short this time because it was a very comprehensive one. In the next webinar, we are discussing the study design directly in ODM. which is our platform, versus the retrospective data loading. You're going to learn how easy data management can be in our platform and how both automated and software-based processes can speed up your workflow and data liquidity if you use the GStack platform. So thank you so much for your attention. If you have any questions, please feel free to forward them to my email that I provided. Otherwise, these recordings will be sent out to everyone who participated in this webinar shortly after it ends. Again, thank you so much for your participation and for spending your time with us. I hope we're going to see you in the next webinar as well. So thank you so much and have a nice day.